So if you're thinking of renting out your place, maybe a spare room, maybe a whole house, you've probably heard of Airbnb, Booking.com, and Vrbo. But which one is better and what's the actual difference? I have used all three, and let me tell you, they each bring something different to the table. So let me walk you through how they really work, what kind of guests they bring, and how they really treat you as a host. So let's get into it. Let's start with the kind of people you will get on each platform, because that shapes everything else. Airbnb is where I usually get younger travelers, solo guests, couples, weekend explorers. They like the idea of staying in someone's home, not a hotel. They read the house rules, they will message you before they book, and they expect a personal experience. Booking.com guests are a different story. They often don't read much, they just book and go. You won't hear from them until they arrive, and they usually expect things to be more hands-off. Clean towels, easy check-in, that kind of a thing. And then there is Vrbo. This one is for families with bigger groups. Think parents with kids or extended family trips. They plan way ahead, they stay longer, and they want a full home with everything set up. And they're usually respectful and not in a rush. And that's why the platform you choose changes everything about your hosting experience, from the type of questions you get to the way you prepare your place. Now let's talk about visibility, how guests actually find your listing. Airbnb has the kind of a brand where people just open the app and scroll. They aren't always sure where they are going yet, but they know they are booking through Airbnb. So if your place looks good and is priced right, you will get a lot of attention. Booking.com works differently. It's like Amazon of travel. People go there to search everything. Hotels, apartments, hostels. So your place is just one option in a long list. But they get a ton of visitors, especially in Europe. That can mean more bookings and fast. Vrbo is smaller in reach, but it is solid for places in vacation spots, beach houses, cabins, that sort of thing. And because their users are usually families planning trips, they don't mind paying more for the right setup. So depending on who your place is right for, one platform might get you booked faster or booked better. All right, now onto the money part, what it costs you and what you actually take home. With Airbnb, they take a small cut from you and a bigger cut from the guest, usually around 14%. So the guests see a fee added at the checkout. You, on the other hand, keep more of what you set. Booking.com flips that. They take about 15% from you and the guest doesn't see any extra fee. That makes your price look nicer to guests, but you're giving up more. Vrbo gives you two options. You either pay per booking, about 8%, or you pay a flat yearly fee. And that is good if you know you will get a steady stream of bookings, and if not, stick with the per booking option. And this is where you've got to think about pricing smart, because if you're not watching those fees, you could end up earning less than you actually thought. Now let's talk about cancellations now, because not every booking turns into a stay. Airbnb is solid here. Guests usually pay upfront, and depending on the policy you set, you will still get paid if they cancel late. But if you cancel, Airbnb doesn't like that. They will hit you with penalties and maybe even a public note on your listing. Booking.com, well, guests often don't pay until right before check-in or even at check-in. So they cancel more often and it stings more. And if you cancel, you might be asked to help find the guest another place or even pay for the difference where they choose to relocate the guest. Vrbo, it's more old school. Guests pay a deposit or the full amount when they book. If they cancel outside your refund window, you keep the money. Less hassle, fewer cancellations, and you're in more control. And that brings us to something just as important. How protected are you when things go wrong? Airbnb gives you something called air cover. It is basically an insurance. If a guest breaks something or causes damage, you can file a claim. They will also verify guest IDs and let you read reviews from their past hosts. That helps weed out a lot of problem guests. Booking.com doesn't really offer anything like that. No damage coverage, no guest reviews you can see. You are on your own. If something goes wrong, you're hoping your own insurance covers it or that the guest agrees to pay up. Vrbo sits in the middle. They give you a liability insurance if a guest gets hurt, and they let you collect a damage deposit. So if a guest leaves a mess or breaks something, you've got some coverage, but you have to set it up yourself. So if you're new and worried about what if they trash my place, Airbnb has your back the most. The others, not as much. And when things go sideways, because they will, it all comes down to how helpful the platform's customer service actually is. Airbnb has support that is available 24/7, and they've got a system for handling guest issues, refund requests, or damages. It is not perfect. Sometimes you will be chasing responses or repeating yourself, but when it works, it works. You can file a claim, talk to a real person, and they will step in if needed. Booking.com support is fine, but it is more business-like. You can tell them and get help with things like no-show or payment issues, but if a guest breaks your TV or throws a party, they won't really get involved. You are on your own. Vrbo support is surprisingly solid. They are not as automated as Airbnb, so sometimes it feels more personal. If you've got an issue like damage deposit claim or need help changing a booking, they will walk you through it. They are used to dealing with owners, not just big property managers, so you feel more heard. And trust me, when a guest locks themselves out at 1 a.m. or demand a refund after leaving the place a mess, knowing who's actually going to pick up the phone matters a lot. And finally, let's quickly cover how and when you get paid. Airbnb pays you 24 hours after the guest checks in. Booking.com is slower. You can choose when you get payouts, daily, weekly, or monthly, but it is usually a bit longer. Vrbo is about the same as Airbnb unless you are brand new, then they might hold your first payout a little longer just for the security. So getting paid quickly can help a lot when you're just starting and trying to cover cleaning fee or utilities, so keep that in mind. So here is the deal. Airbnb is beginner friendly, has better protections, and pays fast, but guests expect you to be a bit more hands-on. Booking.com brings volume, especially if you are in a touristy area, but it is more risky and less personal. Vrbo is great for longer family stays where guests are planning proper holidays and they tend to treat your place with more care. You don't have to pick just one, but you do have to treat them differently. And that's the key. If you're thinking of jumping in or juggling multiple platforms and want help figuring out your setup, drop a comment. I'm happy to share what has worked for me and what I would never do again. And that brings me to the end of this video. I really hope you find this video useful. See you in the next one.